this is touched by heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments where heaven and earth collide and the miraculous happens and God shows up and says, I'm right here, right now, and invites us into a conversation, a deeper relationship with him. That's what happened for me. That's how I found my way back to God, was through the miraculous. I am your host, Trapper Jack. Give you an example of how this works. So last week we had Cliff Ravenscraft as a guest. He was great. And then today I flip on his podcast and I hear him say,
the only thing that people will remember after you die is how you made them feel. How you made them feel.
Well, isn't that curious? Because it was just a few days ago I heard me say,
according to research, you will forget 97% of everything I say, but you will remember how you felt. You'll remember how you feel. Isn't that true with speakers? You remember how you felt.
Isn't that interesting? Coincidence? Just a coincidence or God incidence? Is that all orchestrated or not? And, well, add on to that the song that's been playing in my head for days. It's from originally from a movie, The Thomas Crown Affair. Remember with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway? But the song is The Windmills of Your Mind. And the lyrics, like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on this ever-spinning reel. That to me, that's like God in the middle of all this, spinning everything together. He is the only one who knows all the pieces and parts and how they're intertwined and floating and around. And he does. We all have free will. Understand, we all have free will, but I know that Cliff is inspired, and I know the Holy Spirit is in me, and somehow when we're within God, and we're all spinning within God, connected to God, connected to each other, and we're just on for the ride. We're just on for the ride. If we can have that mentality, whatever you say, God, take me wherever it is and we're going, so I can find my purpose in life and people that are supposed to be in my life and the work I'm supposed to be doing, we're just on for the ride. If we have that mentality, he can spin Cliff and I together to say the same thing because we're both being inspired by whatever, two different things. But enough of a nudge to me that it says to me, because this is the message I'm supposed to get, run the talk. The talk was to this mom's club.
Hi, moms! This is great! I said it 6 years ago, I say it now. It is so wonderful to be surrounded by this much estrogen. This is great.
From a local all-boys high school, St. Edward High School, Moms Club. About 300 moms gathered. They invited me to come and talk, and so I talked about their sons, because their sons and daughters are up against things that you and I have never been up against. You know that, the culture of the world today. So here's God just spinning things. We're just spinning around, and he's saying, run the talk. Run the talk. It's got tons of touched by heaven moments in this talk. Some of them you've heard if you've heard me before. Some may be new to you, but by the end of this, you know that whole thing of how you feel? And I hope you take it all the way till the end, because I think you are going to feel something. I think you will.
Today, if you went to Mass, you heard the gospel, and the gospel had to do with the Good Shepherd and the lost sheep, and how Jesus never gives up. He will always come after the lost sheep. And you know, and I know, that our young people have a lot of lost sheep. You know that. I want to throw at you what turned me around, because I think it could turn our young sons and young daughters around as well. I told Elizabeth Simpson, I said, I want to talk to you about the things your sons don't know, the things your sons don't know. And she said, you could fill an ocean. And I said, yeah, but I only have time for a puddle. And you're only going to remember a thimbleful anyway, so I gotta be correct in how I do this, right? But when I look at our sons, and you probably have heard this, the sons that are right now at St. Ed's, that age group, are the least Christian generation ever produced. They already know that. Here's what they know. Based on what they know right now in previous generations, your sons, odds are, your sons are going to go off to college, they're going to leave the church, and when asked in their 20s and early 30s, are you a Christian? Not are you a Catholic, are you a Christian? They will say no. Are you okay with that? The millennials, right there before them, baptized Catholic millennials. When asked, there they are in their 20s and early 30s, are you a Christian? Half of them now say no. I am not. I follow the beat of my own drum. I am my own moral compass. Are you okay with that? Something has to change. Something has to change. I get it too, because when I got out of school and I went into radio and away from the house, I left too. And I wasn't alone. There are seven kids in my family. We all left the church. We all left. What the heck is that? Our parents are great parents, great role models, and we all left. So for the next 15 years, I'm out there in radio doing my own thing, my own moral compass, and I come across my future wife, Beth, and she brings me back into the church. But I'm still not connected the way I should be. I'm still not. To me, God is still boring. Mass is boring. The cross I don't get. I don't understand the jargon. I'm not connecting. The homilies aren't hitting me, and I go for another 15 years. So now we're up to 30 years, and I'm not connected until finally I meet two living saints. Two absolute living saints I talked about 6 years ago, Dr. Isam, Nami, and Kathy. Lay people who flipped me around, who connected everything. I now understood everything. God, Trinity, communion, Eucharist, angels, saints, Mary. I got it all. It was like, hallelujah, somebody finally explained it to me. And they did it through the miraculous. They prayed things happen exactly the way the church began 2,000 years ago. Why couldn't they kill off the Christians? They were multiplying too fast. What was going on? Miracles were happening. Apostles were praying. Things were happening. The miraculous was happening. So it was for me too. I'm watching miracle after miracle after miracle. I am overwhelmed at what I'm seeing. You name the disorder, I've seen it reversed through prayer. Everything. So one night I'm at home and I'm in overwhelm. And I'm saying, obviously, God, you're trying to get my attention. Obviously, you are not boring. Obviously, you are not disconnected. Obviously, you are here. And so I said, okay, God, let's see if you really are here. I did something I've never done before. I grabbed my Bible, and because I'm Catholic, I don't read it. So. And I say, okay, God, here's the deal. I'm going to open, I look at 1,100 pages. 1,100 pages. I said, I'm going to open up this Bible. If there is something you want me to know, you tell me, because I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stick my finger in here and you tell me what it is, because I'm in overwhelm. What are you trying to tell me? So I flip it open, I stick my finger in, and I land exactly on Psalm 40. Psalm 40 is my life. If I went searching for a passage that better described my life, I couldn't find it. It's Psalm 40. It starts out, I cried out to you, God, and I had. A little while before, I was in deep trouble. I'm saying, if you are up there, I need you now. I did cry out. It says, I cried out to you, Lord, and you stooped over, plucked me out of the muck, put me on firm ground, steadied me, and put a new song in my throat for others to hear and be affected by. And I was singing. I was talking about the miracles, and I'm still singing today. And I sat back, and I'm going, that's my life. I'm sitting in my office going, you're in here right now. You're in my office right now, God. This is not the God I grew up with. This is like this guy, I'm connected right now. I said, how did you do that? I've never reached for my Bible before and I've never done that. I found out it has a name, Bible roulette. You ever do it? A lot of you have done it. What do I need to know? I had never done it before, never heard of it before. And it was like, you're here right now. Since then, I've had a lot of conversations, because I'm about to explain to you or tell you about so many stories of the conversation. This is what our sons don't know, most of them yet. They don't know. They're trying to get their stuff together to be men, and this part for many is just not open yet. They just aren't there yet. Partly because nobody's talking to them about this stuff. Partly. This conversation, and it's interesting, if you spend time with God in prayer, you start to pick up his voice. And that which used to be coincidence suddenly isn't coincidence anymore. A couple of years back, our pastor, Father Phil at St. Bernadette's Church, came up to me in Beth, and he said, I want you to be part of the liturgical commission. I told him what I tell everybody who asks me to do something. No. I said, I join nothing. I never join anything. The worst thing you can ever say to me is, let's break down into small groups. No. God bless you people for breaking down into small groups, by the way. But he said, pray on it, and I did. And you know what? I got a yes. And I got a yes for one particular reason. I had an agenda. I had an inspired idea. St. Bernadette's. St. Bernadette's. Is there a more premier Catholic story than St. Bernadette? Lourdes, France, Mary appearance, miraculous water. It's the miracles again. Yeah, baby. Let's do it. Let's bring the water of Lourdes into St. Bernadette's. Yes. So I said yes. I had an agenda. I come to the liturgical commission and I say, here's my idea, and I throw it at them. They're ecstatic because we can do this through our shrine, Our Lady of Lourdes shrine in Euclid. They have the water as well because they have a piece of the rock that Mary stood on. You run water over that, it becomes the water of Lourdes. Not like the water of Lourdes. You don't have to go to Lourdes. Go to Euclid. It's there. So they love the idea, but nobody moves on it. Nothing happens on it. At the very same time, once again, the conversation, God having a conversation with me, out of nowhere, this woman I barely know walks up to me and said, you know, I just got back from Lourdes, and I bought a bunch of rosaries, and I'm feeling pushed to give you one of them. So she gives me this rosary from Lourdes. I thought, okay, conversation. What are you up to, God? It becomes my new favorite rosary, and I start praying that rosary. One day, I'm praying my rosary, and I'm in the middle of a decade. And I pray a rosary every day. It's very powerful, and those of you in here who pray the rosary every day, you know how powerful it is. Stuff happens. So I'm praying this rosary, and I'm praying, and you know how your mind flits around different people that you're praying for. And I'm praying for the priests, I'm praying for the deacon, I'm praying for the parishioners, I'm praying for the office staff, and the water. So I pray for the intention of the water. At that moment, my rosary breaks. Right while I'm praying on my Our Lady of Lourdes rosary, it breaks while I'm thinking about the water of Lourdes. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't lose any beads. And I have a break in the decade, and I look to one side and I count the beads, and there's 7, and I count the other side and there's 4. What? 7 plus 4, carry the 1. I got 11 beads. I'm praying on Our Lady of Lourdes rosary about the water of Lourdes, France, and my rosary breaks and adds a bead. I don't have a decade. I got an 11 could. And again, I don't go to, oh, somebody must have made this wrong. No, there's a conversation going on here. Okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? Mary, what are you trying to tell me here? Do I need to pray more? You're giving me an extra Hail Mary? Or are you saying, done? Are you saying, we're with you on this, done? The answer was done. A few months later, on the anniversary, the 159th anniversary of Mary's appearance to Bernadette at Lourdes, the water of Lourdes went into St. Bernadette's. It's there now, and immediately people were coming up to me and Beth saying, did you hear about our miracle after we blessed ourselves, or somebody that we know blessed themselves with that water? Amazing, the miraculous. Do your sons know about this? This kind of connection to God? Does anyone ever tell them these kinds of stories? You know, I'm a blind guy, retinitis pigmentosa getting worse. I don't see too much, pretty murky out there, kind of an aquarium with murkiness. You're all fish. I went through this experience that was so phenomenal. My vision was restored twice in the early 2000s. Once at night in the pitch black, I could see perfectly. I could see everything. And then later on in the day, I could see. Twice he did it. I think he did it twice to make sure I understood this was for real. Here's God with the light switch on my eyes going on, off. On, off. Each time I could see, it lasted about 60 seconds. On, off. Now, the conversation. What are you going to do with that, trapper? What are you going to do with that? My response was gratitude. I wasn't upset he turned the lights back off. I said, thank you. I said, thank you. Heal me. Don't heal me, God. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to love you, which is the correct response. No matter what is thrown at us, our correct response is, I love you, God. Whatever happens. A lot of stuff happened to Jesus, too. He didn't stop loving his Father. He got nailed to a cross, doing his Father's will. I love God. I don't care. Now, I do believe there will be a miracle someday that I will get my vision back. I'm not going to tell my wife because she's going to make me start doing laundry and mowing the lawn again. No, honey, the whites and reds look exactly alike. Why? Speaking of my wife, this was interesting. God's conversation again. This is available to everybody, by the way. All you have to do is be open to it, step towards God. What do you want from me, God? And listen. Honest to gosh. So, this happened a little while back. This was great. One night, we had dinner kind of late. It was winter. It was cold. It was dark. I get a phone call, basically, that is supposed to inspire me to go out and talk to somebody. And it's cold and it's late and I don't want to go and Beth doesn't want to go. We don't talk to each other about it. We just don't go. The next morning, I wake up and I'm going, now I get it. I'm sorry, God. Because if we'd have talked to that person last night, they would have said this to that, and that person would have connected and something would have happened, and I could see God's plan, and I just screwed up God's plan. I got in the way of God's plan. I'm going, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I was so mad at myself that morning. And it was Friday morning. We go to Mass on Friday mornings. We went to Mass. God can get physical. Like that extra bead gets physical, God can get physical in a loving way. But during the Mass, I begin to feel what feels like a knuckle in my back. It's between my spine and my right shoulder blade, in that place you can't reach, and I'm feeling what feels like a knuckle. And I'm going, God, if that is you, didn't I already say I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Is this penance? What is this? By the time I got home, the pain was gone. Then Beth came into the office, and she says, can I borrow your thumb? I said, what do you want my thumb for? She says, I need you to press against a spot in my back. I have this pain in my back. I said, really? She said, yeah, between my spine and my shoulder blade. I said, oh, I know where it is. I got the matching set. And I put pressure against that spot, and I said, you know what? It's not going to go away until God takes it away. He's talking to us right now. She said, what is he telling us? I said, I didn't tell you we're leaving, and you didn't tell me last night we're leaving. Neither one of us said anything to each other, and we are a team. God is telling us the reason we both got this pain. He's telling us we're part of a team, we're part of a ministry, we're trying to get the word out about what God is doing in this world today, how heaven and earth are colliding and all this through the miraculous. And we didn't act on it. Not only that, but Beth was fighting. Are we a team? Isn't this just your thing, Philip Trapper? Isn't this just your thing? No. She does the website. I do the audio podcast. We work together. And God was saying, you are a team. This is your purpose. What a glorious thing to know what your purpose is. And you know that. If you have a purpose in life, you are thrilled to know your purpose. And if you're still trying to find your purpose, you know how miserable you are saying, what's my purpose in this world? We had a purpose. Do your sons know about this world? Because Beth and I, we are now in our third week of this new podcast. It is so cool. I am so ecstatic about this podcast. Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. We are talking to the people who have had near-death experiences, visions, God incidents, God winks, angels, you name it, real experiences. This week's episode has a whole bunch of them, and I'll tell you about one of them. This woman, Maria Burley, she listens to us down in Georgia. She was in her early 20s, no cell phones. She's driving on the highway in Pennsylvania. It's getting dark, and her car is starting to die. And she's coming around this bend on the highway, and her car is dying. She gits around the bend, and it just died. And she pulls off the road, pulls off into the grass, but she's in the worst possible spot because cars are going to come flying by, and she's around the bend. They're not going to see her. They're going to see her, and they're going to be gone, and there's no place to exit. She is stranded there. She says there's not much traffic. It's getting dark. It's getting dark. It's cold. And she says, I'm there by the side of the road trying to flag people down, but they can't see me. They're by me by the time they see me. And so she starts praying to God. Nothing going on, 10, 15 minutes. Then she said, I remembered, I'd been reading angel books. And one of them said, you need an angel? Ask God for an angel. So she says, Dear God, I'm out here by myself. I got nothing. Would you please send me an angel? She says the word angel, and around the corner, going slow on the highway, is this yellowish green Jeep, which pulls off the road, pulls up behind her. A guy gets out. She says, I couldn't believe it. He gets out. He's wearing white shoes, white socks, white pants, white shirt, and a white sweater. She's going, who dresses like this? So he goes, well, let's see what the problem is. Pops the hood. Oh, you have a broken alternator belt or some crazy thing. Hop in the Jeep. We'll go back. There's a town back there, 20 minutes. I'll give you a lift back. You'll get the part. She gets in the Jeep with this guy, and she's just staring at him. And she says, you're an angel. And she says, he just smiled like, yeah, I know. They go back to the store. It's just about to close. He gets the part necessary. Comes back. Of course, he's got the tools to put it in. He puts the thing into her car, fixes the car. She needs a jump start. He jumps the car and says, have a great day. She goes, are you kidding me? Angels, they're real. Do your sons know? See, I want to go back. I wish I could go back. I want to go back, older me, to talk to younger me, that guy who walked away. I want to tell him these stories and then say, does this give you pause about leaving? Does this give you pause? I want to go back and talk to my younger self at a table with your sons and say, does this give you pause? Because chances are you're not real connected right now. Does this give you pause in any kind of thoughts you have? Does it give you pause? Because there's something going on here. And somebody, maybe my younger self, might say, well, you're just talking about faith stuff. This could be all in your head. You don't know. Could be coincidence. I need data. You hear young people talk about they need science. I want facts. Give me facts. There's nothing to prove God. There's nothing to prove angels and devils and anything else. To which I would say, science? You want science? Jesus had one of those guys in his troop too. His name was Thomas. There's Thomas in front of him going, I need science, Jesus. I want to put my finger into his wounds and my hand into his side. I don't believe. You said he's resurrected. I don't believe that. And then he sees Jesus. And Jesus doesn't criticize him. He says, you need science? You need the facts? Faith isn't enough, Thomas? Go ahead, put your finger into my wounds, put your hand in my side. Jesus is saying the exact same thing to us, and he's saying the exact same thing to our kids. How does he do that? This is perfect for Catholics. In the 8th century in Italy, there's a priest celebrating Mass. And he comes to that part where he says, this is my body, this is my blood, the consecration, all that. But in his mind, his communication was, I don't know, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. This could be all nonsense. At that moment, the bread starts looking fleshy. The wine begins coagulating. And he stopped the Mass. Communication's going on here. What is God trying to tell this priest? He stops the Mass and asks everybody at the Mass, come on up and look at this. And they all come up going, is this what we think this is? They save it. They wrap it up. They save it. They kept repackaging and repackaging until now we're centuries later. Now we're in the 1970s. Now we're talking science. And what was bread, the host, is now this yellowish brown chalky stuff. And they say, let's cut off a piece of this and send it off to a scientific lab and let's see what they say it is. Let's not tell them anything. Let's just see what they say it is. And that's what they do. They send it off. Lab report comes back. Well, what you have there is human DNA. What you have there actually comes from a particular part of the body. You have a piece of somebody's heart. And it's type AB blood. Wow. I mean, is that a wow? So how about that, younger trapper? How about that, younger St. Ed student? How about that for a little science? How do you like that? Is that pretty dramatic? Does that not prove scientifically what we say by our faith? 1/3 of Catholics, 1/3 of this room perhaps, believe that the Eucharist is Jesus Christ. The other 2/3 don't know, don't care, don't believe. You think that's the only time that's happened? Nope. Lots of times. 1998. In Argentina, from the same diocese they gave us Pope Francis. At a Mass, a communion host is dropped on the floor. Well, you either consume that host or you drop it into water. It will dissolve. When it dissolves, it's no longer Eucharist. Then you can throw away the water. So they put the host into water and they put that in the tabernacle, only it didn't dissolve. It got bloody. And they kept it in there for 3 years. For 3 years, there was a huge cheer. I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a huge cheer after 3 years that this thing did not change. Thank you. Then they took a piece of it and sent it off to a lab, another scientific lab. Lab report comes back. Well, what you have there is human DNA. What you have there comes from a particular part of the body, the human heart. As a matter of fact, we even know what part of the heart. It's from the left ventricle, which pushes the blood out of the heart. It's what keeps you alive. It's also, we thank you, it's a fresh sample of this heart. There are white blood cells there as well. And oh, by the way, it's type AB blood. And by the way, AB blood is what was found on the shroud, the burial cloth. Well, that wasn't enough. They now take the two samples and compare them. 8th century, 20th century. The lab report says, oh, it's from the same person. Same heart, same person. Okay, as I sit there and talk to my younger self and your younger sons, do they know this story? Have they ever heard this story? Ever heard this story? They need to hear this story. Because if nothing else, it just gives them pause. And I would say, as they sit there with their jaws on the floor, you want to hear some more science? I'll give you one more science. Our Lady of Guadalupe. Familiar? I'll say to my younger self, you're familiar with Our Lady of Guadalupe? And he would go, yeah, something about a guy in Mexico? Yeah. And he had some kind of cloak, a coat, or something, and Mary appeared to him and put some roses in his cloak, and then he took it to the bishop and they unfurled it, and when he unfurled it, on his cloak, where the roses were, is an image of Mary. Something like that? And I would say, yeah. And the symbolism on that image, the symbolism on that cloak, Our Lady of Guadalupe, converted 9 million Aztec pagans. Why? Because the symbolism of what she was wearing, the colors, the flowers, how she was standing in front of the sun on top of the moon told them, it said that this woman was from heaven, she was a virgin, and she was pregnant with God. Was all in the symbolism that appeared. And it converted 9 million Aztecs who to that point were worshiping pagan gods and sacrificing their children. Totally converted Mexico and the Western Hemisphere. Now, my younger self would say, well, where's the science? I said, well, the science is in the cloak. That cloak is made out of cactus. It should be destroyed. It should just crumble apart within 20 years max. We're 500 years down the road now. Almost. It's 1531 that this happened in. Want some science, guys? The substance that the image is made out of is not from Earth. They don't know what this stuff is, but it's not earthly. The temperature of Mary, this image, is 98.6. She's alive. The stars that she is standing in front of, science down the road said, well, wait a minute. Those stars are exactly where the constellations were located on that day in December in 1531. Exactly. Only not looking from here up to the stars, but from looking heaven down. It's inverted. She's from heaven. And then the best of all, her eyes. Our Lady of Guadalupe's eyes. When they can now look microscopically into her eyes, they can look down to her retinas. And you know what they find in both eyes? The same image. What they see on her retinas through the microscope is Juan Diego, the man with the roses, and the bishop, and the cloak, and the roses being unfurled, and other people that were in the room at the time. It's all there. The image is there of the moment when the roses were being unfurled. Whoa! Have a little science, guys. Have a little science. Our God is not boring. Our God is this alive. And wouldn't it be nice if we heard these stories in church? Wouldn't that be great? The miraculous didn't stop 2,000 years ago. It's still going on. And we are called upon to tell people how heaven and earth are colliding every day. Every day, these collisions of heaven and earth, these conversations are going on. And our sons are probably oblivious to it. But if we told them to look for those moments, as I tell you, because some of you also have conversations. I know that. I know that many of you every day are having your conversations. And you're getting answers. Sometimes in our time, sometimes not, usually in His time. But here's what I believe. I believe that you will not forget 97% of what you've heard today. I believe you will remember the eyes of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I believe you will remember that the Eucharist is Jesus Christ and science says so. I believe that you might just pick up a rosary if you don't already and pray it daily, because Mary in her apparition said, pray the rosary. It is your greatest spiritual weapon next to Eucharist. It will protect you, it will protect your family, it will protect your sons and daughters. I believe you just might have more than one conversation with God now. Maybe that's uncomfortable, just to start talking to Him, and maybe you already do it, because women are more spiritual than men are. We sure know that. But to carry on that conversation, because here's something else I know. You cannot fall in love with somebody if you don't spend any time with them. You cannot fall in love with somebody if you don't spend any time with them. Just a few minutes a day with God. Gripe at Him. Complain to Him. Tell Him you're mad because something happened. Tell Him you hurt. I know you hurt, ladies. I know your children hurt you. I know your spouses hurt you. I know life hurts you. Complain to Him. Complain to Him. And tell Him you love Him. And tell Him you want answers. Tell Him you want to have a response. He'll give it to you, I swear to God. He'll give it to you. He will respond to you. And there will be more conversation between you and God. And you know what? Your kids are going to notice. Your kids are going to notice. Your kids are going to notice that something's a little different with Mom. Mom just got a little nicer. Your kids will notice the change. And they're going to wonder, maybe I can get some of that too. Maybe there's something there. Tell them the stories. Because God so badly wants to have a conversation with each and every one of us. I thank you for your sacrifice, because I've been talking to you and all the tuitions you pay. God help you, my God. I know I got 2 in college right now. I know. The sacrifice, they have no idea the sacrifice you're making. They have no idea. Because you love them. Pray for them, because here's something else I know. There is something about a mom's prayers that hits God so hard. He's not going to let you down. He's not. There is going to be that day down the road when just maybe somebody asks your son, your daughter, are you a Christian? And they're going to say, of course I'm Christian. What a silly question. God bless you, and thank you so much. God bless you.
Giving you a standing ovation.
God bless. Thank you. Thank you.